Hi everyone, it's Win, and welcome to another video by the Entropy System. That's right, we're back and as committed to destigmatizing DID as ever. When we started this channel 6 years ago, we wanted to bring the most accurate and honest information we could to our audience. But here's the thing, we're not mental health professionals, and we make mistakes. Additionally, as research on DID progresses, some things and terminologies that were thought to be accurate in 2017 are no longer thought to be accurate now. And that's why we decided to return with this new series, Did We Make a Mistake? Get it? Did DID? I'm bad at making jokes. But this little mini-series is just meant to correct and update information from our old videos. First on the list, DID treatment. A quick note, at one point I will be sharing my own personal thoughts just based on my own life journey, but I will make sure to note when that is the case so there is no confusion between what is actual scientific study and what is just me giving my 2 cents. So let's get down to it. Let's start with the very basics. What does it take to get diagnosed with DID? The diagnostic criteria according to the DSM-5 is as follows. 1. Disruption of identity characterized by 2 or more distinct personality states, which may be described in some cultures as an experience of possession. The disruption in identity involves marked discontinuity in sense of self and sense of agency, accompanied by related alterations in affect, behavior, consciousness, memory, perception, cognition, and/or sensory motor functioning. These signs and symptoms may be observed by others or reported by the individual. 2. Recurrent gaps in the recall of everyday events, important personal information, and/or traumatic events that are inconsistent with ordinary forgetting. 3. The symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. 4. The disturbance is not a normal part of a broadly accepted cultural or religious practice. Note, in children, the symptoms are not better explained by imaginary playmates or other fantasy play. And 5. The symptoms are not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance, for example, blackouts or chaotic behavior during alcohol intoxication, or another medical condition, for example, complex partial seizures. That seems pretty straightforward, but it allows for a lot of diversity of experience. Diagnosing DID is never just as black and white as sitting down with a specialist for a few days and saying, oh yes, you definitely have this, or oh no, you definitely don't. It can take weeks to months, in some cases even years, for a specialist to pinpoint whether a person has DID, OSDD, or perhaps another disorder that causes significant behavioral changes or includes extreme dissociation, like borderline personality disorder or maladaptive daydreaming. So are there tools for professionals to use to help determine if a person has DID or not? Yes, absolutely there are. There are a number of screening tools available, and while their results are not definitive and absolute, they can give a professional a concentrated snapshot of a person's symptoms. That's why it's important to combine these tests with professional observation. The most popular screening tests are as follows. The Dissociative Experiences Scale is the most widely available, offered in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Dutch, Finnish, Swedish, Chinese, Turkish, and Hebrew. The second most popular test is the Multiscale Dissociation Inventory, but it is only available in English as a recording. There's the Multidimensional Inventory of Dissociation, and this is unique in that it's a self-administered screening tool and available in English and Hebrew. There are versions available in Spanish, Italian, French, German, Finnish, Norwegian, and Chinese, but the versions in this language have not been officially validated. The Dissociative Disorders Interview Schedule is available in Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, and Turkish. And finally, the Structured Clinical Interview for Dissociative Disorders is available in Dutch, German, and Turkish. Different professionals are going to have different preferences among these tests for different reasons. And again, these are not definitive diagnostic tools, these are screening tools to aid specialists in diagnosis. It is recommended that you take these tests under the direction of a medical professional who specializes in dissociation. So now we know how you get on the path of becoming diagnosed with DID, but how is it actually treated? Well, According to a paper published in the European Journal of Psychotraumatology in 2019, there are no formal evidence-based treatments for DID. But that doesn't mean there's no hope. From the same paper, it's detailed that treatment generally involves these 3 steps. 1. Stabilization and safety. This stage focuses on lowering amnesic barriers between parts, increasing system communication, compartmentalizing traumatic memories, and increasing overall functionality between parts. Stabilization can also include medication. It's important to remember that there are no medications for DID proper, but DID is often found to be comorbid with things like PTSD, anxiety, depression, BPD, and similar disorders. And medication can be used to help handle those comorbidities. Step 2, trauma processing. This can include standard psychotherapies such as DBT or CBT, as well as specialized treatment such as EMDR and hypnotherapy. The paper outlines that premature focus on this stage, on trauma processing, can be dangerous for systems who have not yet achieved safety and stabilization, not only internally between their parts, but also externally in the life that they live daily. Achieving safety both internally and externally can be extremely difficult, and so it's not unheard of for DID treatment to focus just on that first step for 10 years or even more. The third step of treatment is integration. Now, integration can mean different things for different systems. For most of the history of dissociative identity disorder and multiple personality disorder before that, integration meant one thing: the combination of all identity states into one cohesive identity state, something that is modernly referred to as final fusion. But the idea that this is the only end goal for treatment is starting to change. Recently, mental health organizations such as the Phoenix Recovery Center in Utah have been recognizing the validity of another option, modernly referred to as functional multiplicity. To quote the Phoenix Recovery Center, failure to completely integrate all personalities does not always mean that the disorder is still damaging. Some individuals reach a point where all personalities have access to shared memories, set boundaries, and have common goals, making it easier to stabilize emotions and maintain healthy behavioral patterns. Not all professionals recognize functional multiplicity as a valid and healthy option for recovery, but it is becoming an increasingly popular path to pursue for people who are diagnosed with DID. And this is where we enter opinion time. When I first started treatment for my DID, I thought that final fusion was the one and only option. From day one, fusing everyone together into a whole and complete win was the goal. System members I was aware of at the time were in agreement to this with varying levels of enthusiasm. And it wasn't until one of our then dormant alters, Kim resurfaced that we began to consider other options. Kim had functioned as host of the system for years and had a role very similar to mine, something we call the part in charge of not knowing. Just like me, Kim spent most of her existence thinking she was the sole identity in this body and that this life was hers and hers alone. An event triggered her dormancy in 2002, and I continued on as the now sole host and part in charge of not knowing of the system. When Kim resurfaced, she pointed out to me that it was little more than luck that she was the one that went dormant and I was the one who went on to live our life. How would I feel if I were told I had to fuse and she would be the one to remain dominant? That recontextualized everything for me and really made me realize that all parts in my system, all alters, are equally real and deserving of a validating existence. It was then that we stopped pursuing final fusion and started pursuing functional multiplicity instead. Now, fusions have still happened in our system. Some occurred as a result of a conscious choice on that alter's part, and others occurred spontaneously when no one wanted them and were just seemingly guided by our subconscious. We will never discourage an alter's choice to fuse, but we will also never push for it. This decision, along with the choice to start focusing on not only validating our collective identity, but validating ourselves as individual parts, significantly sped up our path to functionality. We deeply believe that there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to choosing between final fusion and functional multiplicity. It is up to each system to decide which option is best for their life and their system. And that's it for DID treatment. We know this one was a little dry, lots of medical terminology, lots of paper quoting, but we appreciate you watching it the whole way through. Did you learn anything new? Did your opinions on anything change? And if you're a system, what are your thoughts between final fusion and functional multiplicity? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, remember that you are loved, you are valuable, and you are valid. Bye now!